So I got Mickey
Hello.
with us today on the
Downtown
Unconventional Money
Mickey.
Moves.
But not downtown Julie Brown. It's funny. People always make fun of that. They go, Mickey, Mickey, Mouse. I get that joke all the time.
Not the, hey, Mickey, you so fine.
Oh, I get that too. Hey, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fun. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. So I do get that a lot. People love that one. That one's a funny one.
That's a good way to start your day.
It is. And we can be positive about it. And I've got us live on our social media so people can find you. Maybe you might want to jump that out for everybody. So on my live on Instagram, they were like, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? And I said, he's got a great show. So share that for
me. Happy to be on. I'm Josh, the Unconventional Money Guy, for the people who are viewing in live.
Unconventional man. Everybody I've got you live on my Instagram, and they're where, just so they can go and listen to the podcast at a later time if they're not on all the time.
Yeah,
live.
we'll get the link out. We'll help you share the whole episode, everyone. And Mickey is a serial entrepreneur, and she started off as a hairdresser, right?
Yes, I did. This was back when you could go to school and you had the opportunity to actually create a craft when you went down. You got to do vocational industries, whether it was be a carpenter, be a construction, be a hairstylist. When I went to school, they offered those amenities and those applicable to the lifestyle that you wanted to do. And I knew at 15, I cut my Chrissy dolls as a baby. I knew I was going to be a hairdresser. I was really passionate for it, and I really loved the deep dive into it. And obviously, people like yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, you do have that propensity to be driven. And everything you touch, you want to take it to 150 and put your foot on the pedal and go 90 million miles a minute. A Bugatti is not quite fast enough for me.
Yeah, we got to hop in the space shuttle.
There we go. I like that, though. I'd like to do SpaceX. Maybe Elon Musk might consider that. You never know. Maybe.
If Jeff Bezos can do it, Mickey can do it.
There we go. Anybody can do it if you put your mind to it. That's always been my saying.
Yeah, and it seems interesting that you say that you have figured out a way to take over like male-dominated industries.
Yes.
But I find it like, I look at people as equals. It's what it appears to me is you just seem like a badass person who go regardless of what, male, female, whatever gender someone might be. So like, how do you go from like a hairstylist to like, what was your first adventure outside of that?
Of being a hairstylist? Well, I think for me, the great part is at that time when I got into hairstyling, platforms artists were typically male. There weren't a lot of them. And there weren't a lot of people up in a different level of hairstylists that really wanted to take their craft. Other than at Vidal Sassoons, we had Annie, who was the creative color director for Vidal Sassoons, but predominantly it was male. And I knew from cutting hair all the clients that I had, and they were all from all types of socioeconomics. They were from all kinds of business backgrounds, whether it was running Fortune 500 companies to $100 million restaurant chains. A lot of them had been rags to riches or started. So that really gave me an opportunity to look outside a different lens. And when I gave birth to triplets and I was a single mom, I got the flu. And I think that was the real wake-up call for me, that if I didn't have multiple flows of income and multiple side hustles, that I was going to be structured into one type of revenue stream. And I had a client come in and they had shared about their business in the scrap business. And it interests me. I was about sustainability. I was about recycling. I was about community partnerships, relationships, giving back. And I liked that there weren't very many women in it. So that really challenged me to say, well, why couldn't I do this? And that was my next layer of business acumen to owning a business and starting a business in the recycling, because it gravitated a whole different identity. I wasn't wearing stilettos. I was wearing steel toes. I wasn't wearing, Chanel and all kinds of high-end fashion clothing. I was wearing jeans, Carhartts, and I was getting really dirty. And I really liked that it was something completely out of the norm of what I had done. And like a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to your podcast or people that want to start their own business, if you do something, you have to know every single dimension of what you're doing at a very deep dive level. So that was sort of what started that next layer of business, which was the scrap business. And as I dove into that, it took into another layer, and we can jump into all these companies and hopefully give your audience some opportunities to see how they can start their own businesses.
Yeah. And so before you hop into the scrap business, how did you prepare yourself to do that?
Oh, well, that was a good one. So a lot of my friends, when in hairstyling, they had started implementing all kinds of ways to recycle hair, how to recycle when people came in and they had plastic bottles, cans, anything that came into the salon, how we could be part of being environmentally aware, bringing sustainability. So when this opportunity came, I literally deep dived into what it was, what metals were, what ferrous, non-ferrous material is, how you could restructure a whole build of a model, which means what people don't realize is there are sealed units, there's electric motors. Everything in your house possibly has some component of metal that can be either cords, strip the outside covering too. So I really did a deep dive and really looked at who were the top in this industry, which was Nucor Steel, David Joseph, all the big boys that were in recycling and what they did and how they built their industry to be $1 billion industry. And that's what drove me to be successful in recycling, because I took every opportunity to see what could be recycled, what could provide sustainability, and also a side hustle for other people to make money. What people don't realize is a lot of people come through our facility, they make $1,000 to $2,000 a week just recycling stuff that they pick up on the back of their truck. And that's cash money. So that's if they only work 3 or 4 days. I've got one guy, he comes in every single day with 2 to 3 truckloads of scrap metal. Like you'll see trucks go by that say cash for scrap or junk doctor or we buy your scrap, or people who clean out houses. They subdivide and become sustainable to create a revenue stream. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, opportunity is missed by most because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work.
That, or they're not comfortable, maybe stepping out of a comfortability. You know, I was not comfortable writing a book, but I wrote it because I wanted to share that if you have an idea or you have a thought or possibly a concept, you can expand upon it or maybe reach across the aisle with people that maybe have. How did we become Amazon? Because he had an idea. How did we find, electric cars? They're an idea. But you just have to grow upon it, expand upon it, and think outside the box. And that's super for me. If it means a challenge outside the box or something that not everybody does, I'm the first one to jump right into it because I really want to see if I can challenge myself to the next level.
Yeah, and that's super cool. You were able to propel yourself to the next level. But like, I'm curious, like you don't just go from like a hairdresser to like owning a bunch of companies.
You don't. I actually, this is a funny question that you said that. So we did just recently we launched it. A lot of people can go look at it. We launched a learning management system. That was another layer of one of my other companies because so many people said, I want to own my own company, but I don't know what to do or how to do it. And you have all of these companies. And I said, I started every company in mind with the growth of that next layer of what's next. What was the next big growth? So when I started doing hair, what people don't get is when you talk to all kinds of different people, they all have something that's a different idea or a different business, and you might expand upon it. I'll give you another one that just recently came out, the latest. I'm not a pitcher on movies, but they talked about Michael Jordan's Air that came out.
Mhm.
And there was a marketing guy and he talked about something. And I said, everything is a key in life. It could be the key to your house, the key to the vault, the key to the matrix, the key to a business. It's all about opening the door. So to me, life is about a key. And you just got to take those keys and open each door and expand and grow that, what's inside that building. So when I started the scrap business, I said, how can I expand upon that business? So then I went and got a dealer's license. That gave me the mobility and a vertical in my business to be able to take and go to like Copart, to go to IAA, different types of car. They do them. They have them. Basically, people come in and they have either dealer's license or they buy vehicles that are run and ride and drive, or they're scrap. They're just like unsellable, but they've got an engine, they've got parts to it. So they're called scrap vehicles, and you're required to have a dealer's license to do it. So I reached out to all of these companies and said, listen, I'm a woman-owned business. We have an opportunity here. So I got a dealer's license so I could go and start buying scrap vehicles and dismantling them. Some of them we sell for parts. Some of them we take down to the bare bottom. We scrap the engine, the catalytic converter, the harness wire, the starters, the alternators, the tires, because some people buy used tires. People don't even realize when you see them along the sides of the streets and they say, come and you could get a tire for $20. A lot of them, they'll go and they'll have 60% tread left. They're bought sometimes at recycling facilities. So it gives people a used tire at an affordable price. At the same time, it's recycling. So it takes it to a whole different level. They even have tire manufacturers that recycle the tires and use it for they take out all the steel out of the tire and they use it as footing for people to ride their horses on. And so there's lots of ways that you can incorporate recycling. So that was another layer into that recycling business. And as people came through my facility, this was a great thing that I felt, how can I make a difference in everything I do? Because this has been our mantra. Even when I won for the state of North Carolina, Small Business Person of the Year, and they'd not ever given it to a woman in this kind of industry. We did a 501c3 second chance program. So I take returning citizens or people that are coming out of incarceration, and we give them employment opportunities. We do a skill set, a job, and an employment opportunity to rehabilitate back into their families and their communities. And as they exit strategy out of incarceration, they have not only employment with me, but then they can either start their own business or go to work with another company that has, let's say they don't know how to operate a forklift or a bobcat or stripping wire or separating and segregating metals. So it was another layer into my business model. So we started that 501c3 and I use that implementation in all of my companies for people to have employment opportunities, to be community partners and families. So that came another layer in the scrap business. And as you build your network, you start to expand along the lines and be able to think of ideas and get with like-minded entrepreneurs to start another layer of business. So that was another piece that came into the recycling business.
So the recycling business was like your first adventure?
It was my first one from hairstyling, correct. So here I was in my late 30s starting the scrap business, and I think less than 1% were women. So at that time, I really dug deep and looked at about what it was to make a difference, what it was to have my own company, and at the same time, start a series of other companies, which now I'm at 9 companies.
So what was the key that allowed you to open the door
that.
to get into the recycling? Yeah, I'm listening.
Wow. So here's the key.
Listening.
I love that key. So I use that a lot. So the key on that one was, again, remember we talked about in just a second ago, networking. This was a client of mine, and we had built a great relationship, and he was getting ready to retire, and he navigated out of wanting to be in the recycling business. And there was, at that time, it was during China. They had electric motors on the water, and they were getting ready to ship, and things went sideways. And I think he'd had enough. So at that time, I put together a business plan. I put together a 3-year trajectory. I went to the bank, and pretty much a lot of banks said no, because banks don't like to give money to things and recycling's a risky business. So it's sort of like horse racing. It's not always a guaranteed fix. And if you don't operate the model properly, it's not hard to go sideways. And that means watching the price of steel, watching the prices of copper, having a good handle on the commodities, and your P&L and balance sheet. You've got to make sure that you're not spending more than you're making. And that's in any business. So I found a small bank that was willing to say, I like what you have to say. I took everything I had financially and bet on myself. And that was the start. And I bought that business out of the receiverships and went for a run. And I haven't looked back. I have now 2 scrap yards. The second one that I purchased was a feeder yard to be able to grow the current one that I've got. And at the same time, it came with a dismantling license, and it's very hard to get. So, and what that means is when we buy vehicles, we can dismantle them and sell the parts. Like, let's say you need a rearview mirror. Let's say you need a door. Let's say you need all kinds of pieces off of older vehicles. That's what our facility up in Hudson can do. So I've got another layer in that business model.
That's super cool. So you have one layer, and then you're like, how do I, take one layer of cake, and I want to have a 5-tier wedding cake.
Yep. Basically, I think that's a great analogy, Joshua, to put it. What people don't realize is you have to be able to expand on your business and find ways to get multiple ways of cash flow in that business. And you really want to make money while you're sleeping. So what I did is I took this business and expanded upon their commercial accounts. I expanded not just on their peddler traffic, because they depended on just consumers that drove through for their revenue stream. I reached out across the aisle and started utilizing commercial accounts. I went to the cities, I went to state, I went to contractors and said, look, give me an opportunity to earn your business, and what can I do to make a difference for you to be able to let us purchase your scrap at the same time, give you the best price, the best service, as well as be a community partner, because we give back into the community. And that was really part of what makes a successful business, I think, is what your model is, as well as what you're making a difference for other people.
And when did you buy this scrapyard? When was this?
July. I'll never forget it. July 2013. I'll never forget it.
Coming up on 10 years.
Yep. 10 years. And I've got now 2 yards. And since then, I've expanded on this business and started 6 other companies.
So when you bought this first business, how did you attack these different people to get them to help feed the business to allow you to spread out to these 6 other companies?
Yep. So on the expansion of Queen City Metal, what I did is I reached out to the city. I reached out to the county. Anybody that had material that was going to be recycled in a metal capacity, contractors, plumbers, electrician, HVACs, people, we would go Facebook Live. This was a great piece, and I share this to people by the power of social media. So I was doing a lot of social media outreach, and I was doing a lot of lives, and we were talking about what we could do and how we do it and what type of materials you could process, whether it was number 1, copper, number 2, brass, bare bright. There's so many metals that can be recycled and get paid for them. It just so happened Discovery Channel was shooting a video, Aaron Needs a Job. It was with, I think it's Garage Monkeys with Richard Rollins. I think it's his name, Richard Rollins. Yeah. And Aaron Kaufman was doing this new series with Discovery. and they saw all our stuff, and they came in and filmed a 3-day, the Hidden Millionaires is what they're called. And a lot of people think of recycling as somebody that, oh, you couldn't be making that much money. And they call it the Hidden Millionaires because it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. So he came in and we dismantled vehicles. We actually had a Greyhound bus, I believe it was, or a city bus that came in, and we scrapped it, tore it all apart with our claw, and I took and cut it up. It was really hilarious. And we spent 3 days shooting. And what they loved about it was they actually came into the salon, had me shoot Aaron what it was like to be in the salon doing customers, and then navigating from a pair of heels dressed up to a pair of steel toe boots and going into the scrap business and what we dealt with, what the customer base was like. It was so much fun. But that was another, again, piece of how you get noticed, how people find you. And again, that's how I opened up to start other companies, because as I grew Queen City, I started coming up with ideas, concepts, thoughts of ways that I could have side hustles, cash flow. And it's something totally different that people don't think about.
So you had a very narrow, you knew exactly who to go after because you're like, I need these materials. These people have the materials. Let me show you a way where I could help take these things off your hand.
Yep.
Is there, in any of your other businesses, did you ever have like any sort of struggle to determine like who you need to identify the target in terms of growing business?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that question. I think that in whatever business you go to, you've got to look at who that target market is for what you're providing. If it's a service, if it's a tangible item, and who's going to use it, do they have it, and can I use it? So if it's like I had 2 young guys say, we really want to sell T-shirts that are environmental. And I said, okay, so who's your target market? They hadn't thought about that. So for me, that target market was recycling, is anybody that's going to have a material that's going to be disposed of so we can keep it out of the landfills, batteries, sealed units, electric motors, anything that's metal, I can process, electronic scrap. So it was not hard to figure out once I was in there and you saw what came on the back of trucks, whether it was kitchen sinks, faucets, water heaters, refrigerators, stoves, freezers, bicycles, anything that's got metal can be processed.
Well, some things has to be hard. You can't just leave your hairdressing job and then boom, instant millionaire.
Well, you know, I did really well in the hair business. I worked really hard. I worked 6 days a week, and I would go in at 8 in the morning, and I would work before I had my children till 8 o'clock at night. So it was nothing for me to put 80 hours a week in. And a lot of people don't realize hairdressers make pretty good money. They really do. And, you know, everybody's got to get a haircut. It's a recession-proof business. Same goes for the recycling business. It may have times where it's more challenging because of the price of steel and the commodity prices vary, but it's always a necessity. If we don't recycle, we're going to fill, hence the oceans full of plastic. We eventually have to have ways to keep our environment clean, keep our communities clean. So there's going to always be a need. And what people don't realize is all the people you see driving around, picking stuff off the side of the street, they come and see me because they get paid for it. And that's their full-time job. And they make great money at it.
So like all those people that we see with the trucks and they have all of that garbage in the back, that's actually gold.
They call it garbage. I call it money. I've got, like I shared with you, I've got one guy, he takes 4 to 5 trips a day filled to the rim. I've got a lady, she fills the back of her truck and she fills a trailer that she hauls behind her truck of stuff she picks off the side of the street that people don't want to put in the back of their car, or maybe they don't have the ability to navigate that. So we probably get 50 calls a day. Can you come pick up a refrigerator, a stove, a washer and dryer, our hot water heater went out. Anything that's got metal, a lamp, for example, has this electric cord that you see. You take off the outside coating of it, we strip it, and it's got wire, and we process it. Romex, spaghetti, cable, Cat5. There's all kinds of wires that can be processed for a lot of money.
Just everything in this room is, you
Everything.
look at it, it's money.
I look at anything that's got metal as money, and money is honey. So you could process honey. That was why I said it. There's an actual metal called honey. How about
Really?
that? Yep. So you never know what there's going to be that's processed that can make you money.
It's very interesting and very
For
cool.
me, it is cool because a lot of people don't realize if they want to do it. I had a guy come to work for me. He came out of incarceration. He worked for me for a year and a half. I got him trained on to do the forklift, the bobcat. He had all kinds of different opportunities, and he started his own business, power washing. He said, Mickey, you would not believe how many people I go and power wash out their building, and they'd say, hey, can you remove this stuff? So he started removing truckloads of stuff from buildings, houses, garages, and was recycling them. So he'd make not only from pressure washing a couple $100 to $500, he'd make $1,000 sometimes. There was one gentleman, he had a big farm. He had all this old farm equipment, loaded up on his truck, processed it. It was all kinds of like graders, things that you wouldn't think of, old lawnmowers, old weed whackers, anything that's got a metal piece to it, we process it.
So basically, I could just bring you anything that has
That's
metal,
got metal.
and then
If
you
it's
turn
got
it
metal,
into
cash for crap. I think on the side of our truck, cash for scrap. That was
cash
one
for
of our
scrap.
say, cash for scrap. Because you know what? Everybody wants to have some way to make money. And it's a great way if you start another side hustle. I had another lady, she came out of incarceration. She ended up being a closet organizer. So she would go into people's homes, and when she was organizing their closets or their cabinets or whatever, kitchens, they'd have toasters, knives, forks, things like that. That's all recyclable. It's metal. So she would come in with like a tote every single day from every job that she had done of old knives, old forks, dishes that had metal into it, plates, serving sterling silver that was old that couldn't be processed, and we'd recycle it. You would not believe how many antiques that we've gotten, antiquities that were metal that maybe come from a different country that people just wanted to throw out. And I got an old shopping cart that's probably worth about $3,000. It's little tiny. It's about 7 inches. It's a collector's item. Somebody brought it in and scrapped it. So you just never know what people might process that you can use for either an antiquity or scrap metal.
Mm-hmm. Now, you hiring people that are just coming out of incarceration, that's another one of your, is that part of your nonprofit, or you got so many things going on? I don't know how it's all related.
It integrates in. So we started a 501c3, and we actually partnered into, we have a couple facilities in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. And then also I reached out to the Department of Energy. They flew me up for a roundtable on employment opportunities and navigating, whether it's truck driving, because what people don't realize is not only is there heavy equipment, we have logistics as well. So we transport all of our trucks, and we go to containers. We go to the where we ship out of the country. We might go to India, China. So all of those come into, again, another layer of employment. So it could be transportation. They've got to do pre-checks and all those, if they have a Class A license, or if it's a Class B, to do a box truck. So again, another opportunity for people to have that. So that 501c3 navigated into not just in hairdressing, it got into the recycling business, auto dealers, a lot of auto dealers, what people don't realize, in car salesmen, a lot of times if they've done a minor offense, even if it's a felony, they'll hire them sometimes to sell cars. So because they have a great communication hustle, they are brilliant at being able to communicate sometimes. And it was a good way to give people another way to communicate, have a skill set, a trade, and they could go into employment and be back with their family and be a community partner. So we give back into the community, giving men and women There's a lot of young men and women that make mistakes at 18 years old that they can't take back, but people might put their nose down to hire them. And we do that. We don't. I don't care what you've done. I want to give everybody a chance, because at the end of the day, people remember how you treat them.
Yeah. And with these people coming out of incarceration, what's the hardest thing for them after getting out? Is like getting back into like, I have
Society.
nothing. What do I do? Where do
Well,
I go?
I'll give you a great story, and that was part of our video we did for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. We actually flew to Mansfield, Ohio, and we talked about having, for people that have had, felony charges, serving over 15 years. One of the gentlemen that we hired had served 25 years in the state of North Carolina penitentiary. And it was a pretty tough story because he actually didn't murder anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He just happened to be riding in the car with a group of guys. And that's not uncommon sometimes, that when he was riding in the car, he actually had an assault rifle, I guess, on his lap, and they had robbed a bank. I said, "Did you drive the car?" He said, "No." I said, "Did you rob the bank?" He said, "No, but I was in the vehicle." And because I had an assault rifle, it became felony charges. To make a long story short, nobody wanted to hire him. He had no skills, no education. He went in at 18 years old. And now he runs my front. He still works for me 10 years later from the time I opened. And he has all kinds of skill sets that we provided him. He understands how to cut copper, segregate materials, run the front, do communications with the drivers through walkie-talkie, on how to tell people where to offload if it's heavy or light. There's a lot of logistics and a lot of understanding. Also, too, you've got stormwater. You've got a lot of environmental accountabilities and recycling that we are adhered to by the state to make sure that we don't have oil, gasoline, transmission fluid, batteries on the ground. So we keep everything in the stormwater clean. So it's been a great opportunity for him. So he's actually marketable in our process, but I've kept him because he's just been fantastic. He's been such a joy to have in my business.
What was that experience like working with someone like that?
Working with someone coming out of incarceration, I've had a lot of it. I'll be honest with you. They're my best employees. They're the most loyal. They're the most appreciative, grateful, humble. And I'll be honest with you. It's amazing how we don't take the time to think about giving people an opportunity to make a difference. Why should someone pay if they've already served their time the rest of their life when they've served time for what they've done? I think it's time that in our society that if somebody has done their time, we need to move on. You can't punish someone the rest of their life and tap them on the head and said, "Well, you did this." The great part is one of my other companies is in the cannabis space. So I own a manufacturing and a distro, and I have a retail license also, manufacturing distro in another state. So I'm actually getting ready to be licensed in 3 states in the cannabis business. 3 of the people that work for me have all served in incarceration, and they have what's called social equity. And they're actually bringing employment opportunities in the cannabis space for people that have served time for cannabis, that have went to jail for quite a long time. I have one gentleman, he served 5 years in incarceration for possession of marijuana, and now it's legal. So I think that for me, it makes a difference for people coming out for their kids. It makes a difference for our community, and I'm making a difference in other people's lives. And that's important to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the best thing, is that you're able to change the lives of other people and you give them an opportunity, and your whole business is around finding the opportunities that are all around everyone, but people just don't see it.
Well, they don't. And networking is everything. So you can't see it. So I'll hold it up. So here's another opportunity right here. So if you take a look at this, this is just one of our companies, Astronaut Planet. I'm not really trying to foam the company, but what I'm talking about was this was a woman-owned business. She actually makes the cups for me. So everything I do, I look at, is it an entrepreneur starting their business? How can I uplift their business? Can I take their business? So I always try to, anybody I bring in my circle of trust, so to speak, I try to make sure that there's somebody who's trying to make their way, make a difference, and at the same time, give back. So if there was another entrepreneur that I gave them an opportunity, they make all of my material now that we use for merch, so to speak, in our businesses. And I love it. And she does great work.
So what are these cups exactly?
Oh, aren't they awesome? So it's funny. I hope she gets on there. She's on Instagram and TikTok. She's on my Instagram. Go look at her out. It's Becca180, I think is her Instagram handle. And what I loved about these cups is you take and you send her your logo or you send what you want to put on it. So we've got different brands in our cannabis business. So we have what's called Astronaut Planets, one of our brands for flour, for tinctures, for disposable vape cartridges. We have another one called AI. We have another one called Planetary Exotics. And they're all different brands within our manufacturing and distro in California. So just an FYI, it's California. It's legal there. And it's legal in New Jersey as well, which is where I'm licensed. So I had her make all these cups to give out to all of our dispensaries about our products and what we do. And it helped her because she was a woman and single and had a son, and I wanted to make a difference. So that when she showed me what she was making, I loved it. She made all kinds of different designs, and I loved that she had the freedom to be able to do that for me. And it was a win-win for everybody.
So with all this, how do you find the right people to bring in? What sort of qualities do you look for? Because you hear it all the time. People are like, oh, I can't find good people, but they're apparently everywhere in Mickey's world.
They are pretty much. I'll be honest with you. You know what? I think it's all about the energy you give. We're all about energy in the world. And I tell people that, don't forget it. If you're around people that are sad and you complain all the time and you're not happy, what do you think you're going to attract? Not so happy people.
Poor little me.
Poor me. I don't want to be a victim here. You know what? If you want to be part of my world and I want you to be part of my world, come with me, jump on the road, and let's go to work. And everybody that I bring in, even, for example, today, when you said what we've got to have to do this podcast, which I was super excited. And I wanted to make it the best experience for all your listeners and the people coming on. The gentleman that does it, go check his work out. He's fantastic. He puts together all of my video content for people. He does all my audio. He's on my Instagram. Go look him out. It's Jason Vicks. I loved the way that he said, listen, I'll make sure that we've got the headset. We've got the audio right. We'll get the speakers. We'll get the video footage. All the content is put together to be professional, that I can put it on any kind of platform and say, look, let me show you what the difference is from me trying to wing it versus somebody that's got the skill set and he's just as driven. Again, another layer. So every person that comes in to whatever company I've got, one of the other companies we did a mobile app and we put together, it's called Pet Porter. Check it out. We launched this mobile app. It's actually like a personal porter for your pet. Takes it to doggy daycare. It's like an Uber Black on steroids for your pet. But the great part is you don't have to ride with the pet. We come, pick it up, take it to wherever you ask us to do, drop it off, and bring it back. It's been extremely valuable to people who are super busy. And when COVID hit, it kind of slowed the process. Now that people are back into overdrive, they're like, can you pick my dog up, take it to the vet and drop it off to doggy daycare and bring it back to me? I'll be home by 5 o'clock. Make sure it's got water. Done. You don't have to do anything. It's all done through the mobile app. You order it, coming through. So the computer IT guy who put together all this process, again, we're talking about networking, which is who, again, referred somebody to do all my video stuff. So I think that if you get like-minded people around you with the same context of business and at the same time driven, positive. So how I get great people is I'm infectious to the people around me. And I talk about the importance of, hey, I need you to meet this goal for me. And if they can't, I'm upfront. If you can't do it, tell me, because I want us to have the same communication. And that's a key success in business. Communicate 100% of what your expectation is for them to meet your needs.
So what it appears in your life is you started as a hairdresser and you were a badass rock star hairdresser.
I
And that
was.
allowed
I
you to
still am.
build. Yeah, I bet you could give me a mean haircut.
There you go.
And so you were able to build your network through meeting all of these people and doing really good work. And then you found this unconventional opportunity that
Yes.
turns junk into hunks of money.
Hunks of money. Yes. I think that's called the hidden millionaire. I like that better. Because I think at the end of the day, it's a hidden millionaire. I think anybody's goal in their jobs are, how do I get to the next level? How do I become at that level where I'm making money while I'm sleeping? And that's really what it's about for entrepreneurs and hustlers. They want to make money while they're sleeping. And that drove into every single job that I've done, every company I've started, was how can I make a difference and how can I make money when I'm sleeping? So that's how I got in the cannabis space. Mine was more for a medical proponent to it. I saw people with cancer and wanting alternatives, mental health, PTSD, stress, anxiety, depression, pain management, people that had kidney issues, liver issues, or people that just, they couldn't intake alcohol, but they needed something maybe to give them a little bit of a relaxing without making them catatonic. So that was how I gravitated into the THC business, as well as cannabis manufacturing, distribution, and dispense. But the next layer came into, which has been really one of my secret hidden millionaire mansion passions, has been real estate. And we're actually in the middle of starting to launch a real estate fund for Reg D to educate the next people coming into generational wealth. And that's where I think anytime you open a business and you have a company you start, bring people along for the ride so they can come along and learn as well as make money. And real estate is a huge proponent to make a lot of money. You could be in the $1 billion space pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it all goes down to just like making money while you sleep. It's like, think about it simply. It's like, how do I make just $10 a day, passively? How do I make $20 a day?
Yep.
And it starts, if you get enough $10, $20, you get enough people bringing in your toasters.
Yep. But people don't realize is like I said, I've got one lady, she comes in every day, 2 to 3 truckloads and a trailer behind. She probably makes about $1,000 a day. Do the math. 6,000 a week times 4.2. How much is she making? And that's cash, not a check. Cash.
That's money.
Cash is king. Don't forget it. It buys everything. And people who say it doesn't matter, it does matter. You got to pay your rent. You got to put gas in your car. You got to feed your kids. And this woman drives around with her 2 small children, and she makes bank. And she is the hardest working. 90-degree, raining, cold. She's out there hustling for that scrap. And I love it.
Well, I feel like, Mickey, you are the definition of scrappy.
Well, I think we all have to be a little scrappy. Sometimes I'm like not wanting to be dirty scrappy, but if it's going to bring something in to make a difference in our community and keep our landfills clean, make an environmental difference. And I think that's why I got into real estate, because I really wanted to be able to build that generational wealth for other people and share with them an opportunity to take what money they had, because as everybody can see right now, you set your money in the bank, you're probably not going to make that much money with it. And why would you want to make no money with what you've made? Instead, make your money with other people. People who have the same like minds want people to succeed along with them.
Totally agree. 1,000% over.
Yes.
Well, Mickey, I had fun. It was great to have you on the Unconventional Money Moves podcast.
Absolutely.
When is this fund opening?
Our fund, go check it out. We're just starting out on Instagram, Facebook, Limitless Ventures. Go to my website, mickeycoffino.com, and everybody go follow me on YouTube. We're going to give lots of nuggets. And Joshua, we'd love for you to come on sometime on the podcast as well and share about even you starting this company. It's a good layer of people meeting new people. And go follow me, Mickey Coffino, at YouTube. MickeyCoffino.com, and Limitless Ventures. Come on along with the ride. We want everybody to make as much money as we make. It's all about that billionaire space.
Boom. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Thanks for
Boom.
having Mickey on.
Hey, Joshua, thanks for having me on. Call me if you need me.